As the political war over India and Bharat explodes, it is important to immerse ourselves in the historical, cultural and mythological roots of the names India and Bharat. Is it correct to say that Bharat is the true native name of our country and India is an external imposition, or is the reality far more complex than this simplistic formulation? To shed critical light on this vexed historical and political debate, I am delighted to be joined on India Today's news track by well-known mythologist and author of Myth Equal to Mithya, a handbook of Hindu mythology and multiple other books, Devdutt Pattanaik. Devdutt, welcome to India Today. Let me start by asking you to share your views on the idea that the name of our country should really be Bharat and not India, or at least Bharat should be used much more than India, because Bharat is the name that has Indic roots and we should not be promoting a name that was the name the outside world saw us by. That India was never really the name of this country. The name really is Bharat. India is the name the rest of the world, particularly the Greeks, started calling our country by. How do you look at the entire controversy that's playing itself out right now? Devdutt Pattanaik.
Namaste Rahul, thank you for inviting me. This is an interesting question, but let me give you a mythological answer. Now, in the Middle Eastern mythologies, there is an obsession with one God, one life, one prophet, singularity. Indian mythology loves diversity, plurality. So many gods, many ideas, many saints, many ways of thinking. We have always been a land which appreciates diversity and dynamism. So there is a Middle Eastern concept of singularity and there is an Indian concept of plurality. So when somebody says we should have only one name, one idea, one thought, one language, they're really drifting towards Middle East, which is the mother of Western civilization, right? I think India should retain its identity and celebrate plurality. And therefore our gods, we have many gods and every god has many names. So you have Shiva, it can be called Shankar, can be called Bholenath. You have Vishnu, who can be called Narayan. So I think we belong to a land which celebrates diversity. We should not follow the Middle Eastern path. This is my personal view.
Could you share with those watching your understanding of the origins and the roots of the name India?
So the question about India, the origins of the name India, and you use this word native, Indic, this is foreign, this suggestion. So the word India is derived from a Sanskrit word called Sindhu. Sindhu means a river. Very specifically, it refers to the river that passes across India for several hundred kilometers before entering Pakistan. From Sindhu comes the name Sindhadesha. Now the Arabs cannot pronounce sa, so they started using the word ha. So Sapta Sindhu became Hapta Hindu. Sindh became Hind, and 2500 years ago we have the Persian king referring to India as Hind. The Greeks come to India, they can't say ha, they say e. So Indu, Indus, Indica. So Megasthenes writes the book Indica, but he's really referring to the word Sindhu. So the origin of the word India comes from the Sanskrit word Sindhu. Sindh, Hind, Ind. Sindhu, Hindu, Indu, Indus. In fact, the word Indu means the moon and is the name of Ramchandra's grandmother. So Ram, who established Ram Rajya, his father was Dashrath. His grandfather, that is Dashrath's father, was Aja, who was married to Indumati. So maybe India comes from Indu, Indumati, Indus, Sindhu. So it's a very Indian sounding name. So we have associated it with the Greeks. Some people think it's the British, not really. That's really uneducated people say such things. But it's not even the Greeks. It's really a Sanskrit word from the Rig Veda, Sindhu, which gives us India.
That's as far as India is concerned. I was reading your piece this morning. Could you explain to our viewers your understanding of the emergence of the word Bharat, its various contexts, the context in the north, the context in the south, in the light of the suggestion that this is the true Indian and true native name of our country?
Yeah, so people have been asking me about Bharat. So the word Bharat comes from the word Bharat. And Bharat, the name first comes from the Rig Veda. You have Bharata, king of the Bharata clan, winning the battle of 10 kings in the Rig Veda. We don't know much about them. Now, Rig Veda happens only in the Kurukshetra region. Then you have the Mahabharata epic, again talking about the Bharata clan, and again it happens only in the northern part of India. Kuru Panchala region is roughly what is today Delhi, Mathura, up to Prayagraj. That's the zone. The first time the word Bharat Varsha is carved in stone, it is about 2100 years ago in Odisha, in the Hathigumpa caves. You find this name Bharatvarsha, but it's referring to only the Gangetic region west of Magad. So it doesn't refer to the whole of India. So Bharat word really is a word which refers to certain parts of North India. Bharatvarsha refers to certain parts of North India. It's, it is a name given by Brahmins. So, whenever people say Bharat, 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 Bharat Khanda, Bharatvarsha, these are really coming from Brahmin sources, Vedas, Puranas, Dharmashastras, something like Arya Desha, the land of Aryans. So Bharata is the king of the Aryans, the victorious kings of the Aryans. So it's a very North Indian Brahminical word that emerges. And one must remember that. There's another Bharat, of course, very famous from the Jain traditions, who is the son of Rishabhdev, the first Tirthankara, and Bharat is the first Chakravarti. And I believe that probably the word Bharat really comes from the Jain traditions, but we don't value Jain traditions. Remember, Jainism was very powerful at one time, but it was driven out of many parts of India, like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. So really the Bharata Chakravarti would have been known in South India in a very, very big way. North Indian Bharat perhaps comes from Brahmin traditions, and the South Indian Bharat perhaps comes from Jain traditions. So, we have to think about these things which we usually don't teach these things in history, right? The Jain Bharata, who is a Chakravarti from South India, maybe, where, he visits his brother Bahubali statues in the South India. So we have to think about these characters also.
As people listen to both your answers, would it then be fair to conclude that Bharat, the name, has its origins entirely in India? Where you gave the story about Indumati, which is, as you write, possibly also a WhatsApp forward, not necessarily entirely historical, probable but not necessarily true. But on balance, the chances are higher that India was really an external interpretation of the name of our motherland. It had roots in India, but India is what the Greeks and the others called us. So then the question becomes, what should our country really be called? An idea which is native, or a name which is external to our country?
I don't think that the word Bharat comes from India, and India comes from foreigners. That's not a conclusion. That's your conclusion. That's a political conclusion, and that comes from Chanakya Niti of divide and rule, Sam, Dam, Danda, Bhed. But India comes from the word Sindhu, which is a Vedic word. Bharat comes from Bharat, which is also found in the Vedas. Bharat also comes from Bharat, which is a Jain word. So we must be aware that the word Sindhu was called Hindu by Persians and Hindu by Greeks, but they didn't give us the word. It comes from an Indian river, a Vedic river called Sindhu. So, the Brahmins of India, the Brahmana, they have controlled the literature of our land, right? So Aryans, the word Arya comes from Brahmins, but the Jains and the Buddhists look at Aryans very differently compared to the Hindus. So we must be careful of the Brahmin use of the word Bharat, an appropriation from the Jain traditions, right? They are appropriating it from the Jain traditions, one can argue. But the word Sindhu is a Vedic word, and India comes from Sindhu. So this internal, external it's again Brahminical, right? It's a caste thing, right? What is internal is pure, what is external is malech, is impure, and the impure people should be kept out the way untouchables were kept out. The untouchables were kept out of our villages. So we should not celebrate this mindset. It's not healthy. This is a very Brahmin caste mindset, that internal things, अंदर की चीजें कोटियाड़ के अंदर रखो, उसके बाहर उल्लंघन, Sita crossed the Lakshman Rekha and therefore becomes impure. Outside is bad, inside is good. Not a healthy mindset, I think. We are a plural country. We allow things to come in, potatoes have come from outside and we celebrate potatoes. Horses have come from outside and we celebrate. Aryans came from outside and we call ourselves Arya Desha. So, we should just allow internal, everybody came from Africa. So we are all technically, genetically African. So I think these are, but then politicians know better than scholars. We are like, हम तो mythologists हैं, scholars हैं. Those, उनके हाथ में तलवार है. Those who have the sword are far more powerful than those with the pen, right? And the Brahmins know this too.
Devdutt, changing a name isn't just about nomenclature. It's also cultural, it's political. Bombay became Mumbai, Calcutta became Kolkata, Madras became Chennai. While these changes were opposed by many at the time, they now are commonly accepted. Do you see any similarities and dissimilarities between what was done in the names of the cities and what seems to be attempted now?
Yes, changing names is something that politicians do when, we don't give ourselves names, right? Our parents give us names, elders give us names, teachers give us names. And then when do we change our names? When we change our religion. When you change your religion, you change your name. When you become a sannyasi, you change your name. So I think that is where the mindset, changing religion, this conversion idea is what leads us to deny ourselves. The greatest countries in the world have multiple names. Germany is called Deutschland. China is not called China by the Chinese. The local people call it a very different name. Bhutan is called very differently. The Bhutanese call Bhutan Drukyul, if I'm not mistaken. So, all great civilization. We say Egypt, but the Arabs call it Misr. So great civilizations have different names because different people have engaged with it. I guess we don't want to be a great civilization. We want to follow the Middle Eastern path of monotheism, one idea, one thought. We hate our plurality. We see alternate ideas as polluting, which is a Brahminical caste mindset. I guess that's the path we want to walk, and I think that's an option.
Okay, thank you very much, Devdutt Pattanaik, for joining us and sharing your views on the India-Bharat controversy. Appreciate your time. Thank you.